Sabah al-Khair. Salam alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very important moment. I know that you have invested a lot, but this is a very important moment for UNESCO. I think when the multilateralism is just to put into question but some institutions, so I think we need to reinforce our commitment with the UN Charter, and we need to celebrate what happened because the commitment of the people and institutions and countries from all over the world. When we were invited on an annual basis to be part of this very important event, the Cairo Water Week, we have decided just to focus all of our ideas and prospects and the meaning about what is the DNA, what is the real reason that make of this intergovernmental hydrological program of UNESCO a very important success. And we met some of very important personalities and institutions. We discussed together how to package, how to organize this discussion, and we are going to devote all of our main objectives within the Cairo Water Week this year to celebrate. To celebrate because it's a lot of effort and for a very good cause. But it's a moment as well to think how to project the successful result for the following decades, for the following 50 years. And today, UNESCO Regional Office in Cairo, and of course we transmit the message of our Director General, Madame Audrey Azoulay, to thank all of you, to thank to your institutions, to yourselves, to your family as well, because you have devoted a lot of hours and effort of your daily work in academic life devoted to the successful of this very important program. When my colleagues and myself decided how to put together all the very important achievements, how to try to identify the who is who and to try to reward as they merit because of their kind of commitment with all of us, we try to identify key personalities. And it is my pleasure just to present briefly all of our participants in this very important panel. We are going to receive His Excellency the Minister, because he told us that he wants to participate at any moment in this very important event. So when the minister will come, we will interrupt, and of course it would be our pleasure to give the floor to Professor Hani Swillen. But I think it's a very important moment for us because we have the presence of Deputy Minister of Water of Saudi Arabia. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Mr. Al-Saibani. Thank you very much for being with us. As you know, our office is very close to the work of the League of Arab States. It's very important for me as well to welcome the representative of the League of Arab States. I think one of the key elements for a fruitful cooperation for the future is whatever kind of work that we can do together within the framework of the Ministerial Water Council for the League of Arab States. So I think it's very important to have you here, and you know that you can count with UNESCO for the further steps up to 2026-27. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much to all of you, all the representatives, different kind of colleagues as well for different United Nations agencies with whom we collaborate on daily basis. It's my pleasure to start by welcome Dr. Andras Zalozi-Nagy, Chair of UNESCO on Water Conflict Management, but he has been for many years in hydrological program of UNESCO, but you have perhaps one of the leadership, the most remarkable leadership within that program. So more than 20 years working with us, rector of Delft universities between different kind of charges, important responsibilities all along your career, but of course very, very focused on conflict management and water education. So we are celebrating 20 years of one of the most pivotal members of this very important program. Equally, it's my pleasure to welcome Abdel Salih, my colleague. Colleague of United Nations, colleague of UNESCO, predecessor as the head of the Cairo UNESCO office, but you have been everything for the program. So you have been a secretary, you have been a president of the council, you have been the UN UNESCO director, so I think that you have a very overarching experience, and you can, of course, illuminate even a little bit better how with different kind of hats, with different United Nations family, we can really deliver for the following years to come. It's my pleasure to welcome Professor Fadi Komair, Director of Energy, Environment, Water Research Center at the Cyprus Institute, but he has been since 2019 President of the UNESCO Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. It's a pleasure for us to listen of what happened in June in Paris, what is the way in which this area can continue playing a very pivotal role, because we will remember later that whatever happened for this very important project was born in the Arab lands, was born in this region. And I think that is a flag that we need to move from time to time. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Mahmoud Abu Zaid, distinguished Egyptian authority, World Water Council, Arab Council, always at the very head of these very important institutions. And he was twice vice chair of the Bureau of the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. A pleasure, sir, that we can count with you here today. Equally important, the presence of Dr. Zubari, professor of the Arabian Gulf University. I think your work has been pivotal just to develop many work, but namely focus as well on the number 8 program of the IHP. Thank you very much for joining us. And it's my pleasure to have to welcome Dr. Driss Hashnaouni, head of the Water Department of the Minister of Equipment and Water of Morocco. And you continue being really a very leader of the National Commission. We remember this morning that, of course, the 170 national commissions are at the service of this very important project. I think this is one of the biggest UN family because of water, and that happened at UNESCO, and we are very proud of that. We described in the previous session what is the cartography of this enormous networking. Having more than 30 Category 1 and Category 2 centers of UNESCO all over the world, having more than 170 national commissions, but more than 90 chairs associated to water management, to water studies, to engineer. So really, I think it's enormous. I think it's absolutely the biggest ever kind of a network in terms of water achievement and water commitment. I would like to say that I just came from China. UNESCO put forward this enormous big meeting, more than 3,000 representatives from 170 countries, just to defend the role of Biosphere Reserve to be the pilot project, to be the scenario, to be the spot to really go ahead with a systematic proof and action, trial and error kind of a processes when dealing with sharing data about water, when dealing with how to better use the remote sensing, and how to put forward research that could have the same kind of results, the same kind of shared data to have at the very end of the day comparable figures. So I think that is extremely important. Think about UNESCO, not just wonderful, amazing natural protected sites, World Heritage sites. Those are laboratories of practice at the service of this very important community. Without mention a lot about ocean literacy, our Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, I think this is the really amazing and really one of the most important rocky kind of a program of and intentions of UNESCO vis-a-vis the international cooperation at the multilateral level. I think it's a moment just to have a look, to try to be, the minister is here. So as I mentioned, it's my pleasure, Dr. Schulent, just to give, please. Dr. Suilan, we know that you are very busy, always, but very, very busy nowadays. But let me tell you something. I would like just to introduce your commitment and your support with all of us. I mentioned in the previous session your contribution to the Nile, to the Friend Nile initiative of UNESCO. I repeat it again that your idea was just to set up a water pavilion within the COP. I think you have done a remarkable work with AWARE. And thank you for support as well, the work of UNESCO concerning the green water. But I think it's very important your commitment as well with the part of the mandate of UNESCO that has not been sufficiently mentioned so far, which is all the archaeological and historical heritage associated to the history of water management. And I think it's equally important as well for us to take this into consideration. Minister, we continue being surprised about how long is your day, because you continue producing peer review wonderful contributions. I don't know if overnight, but it's remarkable the way in which your water diplomacy, your commitment and your mandate as a national authority, and your continuous productive curricula in terms of the academic links is absolutely very, very important, pivotal for this action. Thank you very much for being with us, and of course, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm sorry for being a bit late, just being running between sessions. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, partners, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this special session marking the 50th anniversary of the UNESCO's Intergovernmental Program, IHP. On behalf of the Arab Republic of Egypt, I extend our sincere congratulations to the UNESCO and the entire IHP community for 50 years of advancing hydrological science, education, and cooperation around the world. We also take this opportunity to convey our heartfelt congratulations on the election of Dr. Khalid Al-Anani as Director General of UNESCO, a well-deserved recognition of his vision, dedication, and leadership. His appointment reflects Egypt's growing role in promoting global cooperation, science diplomacy, and international dialogue. We wish him every success in his distinguished role. Egypt is proud of its long-standing partnership with UNESCO and of its active role in promoting water sustainability and climate resilience across Africa. Earlier this year, Egypt had the honor of joining UNESCO in celebrating the IHP's 50th anniversary at its headquarters in Paris. Egypt-side event in June 2025 provided an important platform to exchange experience with member states and to highlight Egypt's leadership in linking water and climate action. Ladies and gentlemen, water has always been at the heart of Egypt's history, development, and identity. Yet, today Egypt faces one of the most critical water situations in the world. Over 98% of our renewable water resources originate beyond our borders, and our per capita share is among the lowest globally. Managing these limited resources had therefore become not only a national priority, but an existential responsibility, especially under the pressures of climate change and rapid population growth. The transboundary nature of Egypt's water resources, particularly the Nile River, lies at the core of our national water policy. Egypt has consistently sought to strengthen cooperation with its Nile Basin neighbors, guided by the belief that the Nile is not the asset of one nation, but a shared lifeline and collective heritage for all the Iberian states. In this context, I would like to commend UNESCO's IHP for its renewed efforts to revitalize the Friend Nile project. Since its launch in 2000, this initiative has played a vital role in advancing scientific cooperation, data sharing, and hydrological research across the Nile Basin. Its new phase inauguration, modern scientific approaches to address climate change, population pressures, and raising water demand is both timely and essential. However, Egypt's long-standing efforts toward cooperative and equitable management of the Nile have been challenged by unilateral actions related to the construction and the operation of a dam undertaken in a violation of international law. For more than a decade, Egypt has called for a fair, legally binding agreement on the filling and operation of the dam, one that balances upstream development needs with the rights and safety of downstream nations. Unfortunately, continued unilateral measures, contrary to the 2015 Declaration of Principles, have undermined trust and regional stability. The recent decision to hold a so-called celebration making the dam's completion without an agreement does not confer legitimacy. Instead, it highlights a disregard for the established rights of downstream countries. Reports of uncoordinated water releases and erratic reservoir management underscore the risks of unilateral operation, which runs counter to scientific principles and cooperative governance. Colleagues and partners, as we celebrate 50 years of the IHP, we are reminded of the program's unique role as a bridge between science and policy, empowering member states to translate knowledge into action. Egypt continues to invest in scientific research and technological innovation as key drivers of sustainable and resilient water systems, fully aligned with the vision and values of the IHP. When we speak of water, we often think of rivers, lakes, and aquifers. The blue water we can see and measure. Yet, there is another equally vital component, green water, the rainfall stored in soils and absorbed by plants. Green water is the invisible foundation of life. It sustains rain-fed agriculture, supports forests and grasslands, and provides the soil moisture that feeds 80% of global food production. Without green water, there is no food security, and without food security, there can be no stability or peace. Modern science now allows us to measure, monitor, and manage green water with unprecedented precision through soil moisture sensors, satellite images, and data-driven hydrology. Integrating green water into national and basin-wide water strategies is therefore essential to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, promoting climate adaptation, and securing rural livelihoods. In this context, UNESCO IHP and its scientific community have a crucial role to play in bringing green water into the mechanism of water governance. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate 5 decades of the IHP, let us reaffirm that our most powerful tools are science, solidarity, and shared vision. Egypt stands ready to continue working closely with the UNESCO and all partners to ensure that water security remains central to sustainable development. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. You know that as we discussed, you put very clearly forward the kind of responsibility that we all have vis-à-vis what is going to happen in terms of a multilateral agreement in the future implementation of this important project, and to safeguard as well the implementation of the Charter of United Nations. So thank you so much. I will invite all of our audience to go through a video that shows the way in which we try to encapsulate what happened, of course, in this very long, intensive period of 50 years. If my colleagues can play the video, please.
Water, essential for all life on Earth. For half a century, the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program of UNESCO has stood as a key pillar in global efforts to safeguard the planet's most vital resource by connecting science, policy, and people. As the UN lead agency for water sciences, UNESCO's strength lies in its global water family, a powerful confluence of knowledge and collaboration. This living network includes 29 centers of excellence, 93 UNESCO chairs, 170 national committees, 17 flagship initiatives, and the World Water Assessment Program. Each year, over 20,000 individuals are trained in water security, supported by 63 eco-hydrology demonstration sites across 36 countries. Through the global network of water museums, over 20 million visitors are engaged annually. UNESCO's action extends far beyond observation. Its climate risk analysis methodology, recognized by the World Bank and the Green Climate Fund, helps shape international water policy. Groundwater resources, long invisible, have now been mapped at a global scale. In line with IHP's endeavor, the UN report Progress on Trans-Boundary Water Cooperation, coordinated by UNESCO and UNECE, currently counts over 450 trans-boundary agreements. Innovative remote sensing tools now detect water quality from space, while real-time monitoring systems track floods and droughts. Research on the planet's frozen water reveals the essential role of glaciers in the global water cycle. The World Water Assessment Program has transformed how freshwater resources are evaluated worldwide. Youth-led networks, initiatives, and partnerships are shaping the next generation of water leaders. The future demands bold, inclusive action. UNESCO's vision, Science for a Water-Secure World in a Changing Environment, reflects the diversity of voices, including indigenous knowledge and women's perspectives. Through open access digital platforms, water knowledge becomes shared knowledge, from scientific innovation to practical solutions. Today, bridges are being built for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps we need to come back to some numbers that explain how big and how great is this celebration. So I don't know, but yes. With him? No, because it was at the end. We call him at the end. Okay. So perhaps it's important just for us to go back to some numbers. And it's important to look at how old the first initiative was. We dig in our archives, and 1950. It was the first report of UNESCO dedicated to arid zones. In 1956, UNESCO organized a very important meeting, first meeting just to identify the way in which our organization could work with water. And of course, in 1975, we decided to start. This is the first document in the left side of the screen. This is the first one. So in 1960, UNESCO called us one a very important meeting in Paris, and from then up to now, the IHP have passed through 65 years. But after 1965, the governing body decided just to start with this International Decade of Hydrology. And that was the very, very origin of the work of United Nations in this very important matter. So today, of course, a lot of you knows UNESCO program for many, many years. But it seems to us that it's important as well to pass the message that we need from now onwards to create a much robust campaign just to inform all the public opinion about the importance of this specific program that is totally unique, and the DNA of this program is totally unique within the family of United Nations. So I repeat, more than 170 countries with a national committee, 67 water-related chairs, 30 specialized centers. Of course, we are producing the water management report of United Nations, and this is more or less all the cartography of any single related institution of personality associated to the thinking and the proactive action in favor of preserving and conserving water all over the world. And the kind of arborescence of our collaboration is is unique, is really huge, is enormous. And I think this 50th anniversary tried to congratulate really not the individual capacity, but the capacity of all of them to work together in favor of water as a public good. And this year is important for us, 50th anniversary, but it's always important to remember that everything happened and started because of the Arab region in the world, or the arid regions in the world. So at our disposal, we have all of these services, network, Category 2 centers, Category 1 center, chairs of UNESCO within the Arab milieu. So I think this is extraordinarily important to strengthen even our position, our kind of apply the research in the following years, and of course to combine this with different kind of geographies, the geography of World Heritage, the geography of Biosphere Reserve, the geography of Biopark and Geopark as really the cellules, the hotspot for future research, applied research project within the hydrological program of UNESCO. So I think that is absolutely key. Our colleagues from Saudi Arabia that are preparing all the next meeting up to 27, I think this is a very important geography to take into consideration when thinking the way in which this reuse is absolutely crucial for the future of studies of the rest of the world, because warming is for others in terms of drylands, in terms of dryness, in terms of sunstorms, in terms of whatever that have happened within the Arab region for not just century but millennia. I think it's important to remember that the commitment of Egypt to this effort started in 1947, and of course we have been working in different kind of platform, and we continue. The case of AWARE, I have informed you this morning in our previous session. My colleagues at the office put forward a very important survey. We have a very critical information about all the Arab and of course, all the continent, the African continent, needs in terms of the water cooperation. So I think this is a very important picture. This is a map of our common action, and all the project, of course, is under leadership of the Minister Swillen, of the Minister of Water and Irrigation of Egypt, that considered that UNESCO could manage the part related to the green water. So I think this is extraordinarily important kind of advanced in terms of methodology that we put at the service of whatever kind of continent and, of course, the regional group within the intergovernmental project of UNESCO. Climate negotiations. So we have here representative as well of Padua, the training course, the training center that is covering not just Egypt, not just the north of Africa, Arab region, but as well Africa, the entire continent. And one of the main important strategies that they put forward, and our colleagues are here with us, is just the training for the negotiators. And I think it's important not just in terms of mitigation, in terms of adaptation, and in terms of loss and damages. And it's an enormous, very important project managed by them. And of course, we are part of CRIDA. It's absolutely a strategic training tool, equally important for any single country because all we are affected by the climate change hazards, and of course is the way in which is sharing data, of course putting together common methodologies. We are much better prepared, very well prepared to respond to the effects on this hazard when it came to water issues. Of course, I mentioned this initiative, Right Nile, and I think the Minister, Egypt, and different kind of countries of the Nile basin is absolutely critical how to put together all of our scientific efforts for the applied research and to try to speak a common language because we have one water kind of worry and challenge, but our institutional kind of a culture could be different. So beyond even the construction of a kind of a standardization of regulation and so on, what I think is much more important is to try to merge the different kind of academic cultures and institutional cultures in different kind of countries just to get an agreement and just to run together. Very important, the production of the report, as I mentioned, the COP27 and the Pavilion on Water, and that happened since them and CRIDA. And which is important as well for us as United Nations agency, is not just to support internationally, but just to try to adapt and to land the global agenda for the very specific purpose at national level of how to cope with the national adaptation plan. And this is a model that we share UNESCO, UNEP, as well as others, among others, of course, FAO. And we refine at national level all the machinery of setting up very concrete indicators that can speak better, that can explain better the commitment and the results of the countries vis-à-vis the Paris Agreement. And of course, we have another important initiatives like GWADI. This is key. So all what happened with these ephemeral kind of water springs, as well as the case of oasis. So we are running different kind of activities in this sense. And as I mentioned, more than 1,800 Arab water professionals are trained in very key people, in very key subjects, climate adaptation, water diplomacy, and all the water hazards. And more than this, we are very engaged with the communities, and we are very engaged here. Part of my team is developing a WEFE, kind of a very specific hackathon competition, because through the program, we would like to support youth students, PhD, very young professional associated to UNESCO and to the national institutions to focalize, to swift whatever kind of general approach to the very specific project. And we are working in Egypt for the specific case of how to create a circular economy between energy, food, and water in the Egyptian oases, mainly in Shiwa, in Fayum, and Karga, and Dakhla. So this is part of our work here. but with the League of Arab States. The League of Arab States and the Minister of Water has requested UNESCO to put forward policy papers, and this is a kind of accumulated knowledge that we have developed, and we are going to present the three of them, the three last of them that you see in 2025, so groundwater demand management, groundwater governance, and data and information monitoring the requirements. All of these are going to be present in the forthcoming ministerial conference. So the program, the hydrographical intergovernmental program of UNESCO, is absolutely key in putting forward as well policy paper. And you will be given as well the last publication that we have translated into Arabic, related not just about droughts and how to face the drought problem, the increasing drought problem, as well as flooding, but of course how to live in arid lands in the Anthropocene. And much more important, you can be with us tomorrow because we have put together a very important toolkit for disaggregated data in terms of gender issues related with water. So with all of this, I stop here, but just to offer you how from an international program we became as well to regional, and we go and work with the specific communities for a specific problem-solving initiatives, and of course you can count with our office for the following 50 years to come. It is my honor right now to give the floor and the chairmanship of this very important panel to my colleague Visher Iman, that will be here and will chair this important celebration and actualization of our knowledge about the new requirements and the new commitments within the framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sands, and of course, we are very grateful for His Excellency for his motivating speech. First, I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Abu Amani, the Secretary of the International Intergovernmental Hydrological Program in Paris. Unfortunately, Abu Amani could not join us personally here because of the Executive Board of UNESCO. He's joining us through Zoom. Can we please have Dr. Abu Amani? Sot.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Bisha, can you hear me?
Yes, voice on. We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Bisha, and also thank you for the opportunity to contribute really to this very important moment of celebration of 50th anniversary of IHP within your region as part of the Cairo Water Week. I want first of all of course, to thank Nuria for sharing the history of IHP and also presenting the achievement within your region, and also indicating the importance of strengthening the issue of water cooperation. But let me first appreciate the leadership of the government of Egypt through the Minister Hani Sulam for the Cairo Water Week, which is becoming now a very, very important platform at the regional and global level in advancing the challenges the world is facing vis-à-vis the water issue. This event, of course, is dedicated to the 50th anniversary of IHP, and as highlighted already by Nuria, this program, as scientific program, has been providing knowledge-based capacity to member states for them to have informed decision-making when it's come to addressing the water challenges they're facing. And in that, of course, we know the challenges the region, Middle East and Arab region have been facing on the issue of scarcity, pollution, climate change. For all those challenges, Egypt has a key role to play. And as you can see within this celebration of the Cairo Water Week, this is a tremendous opportunity Egypt has in order to provide the appropriate leadership. I want to commend the tremendous contribution of Egypt within IHP. As it has already indicated, Egypt through Professor Abu Zaid was the chairperson of the program. And in addition to that, Egypt has been within IHP Council for many years. And this is to show that really the critical importance that Egypt has been playing. Also, it's important also to mention the long-standing water cooperation Egypt has been really promoting within the region, and also all the issues related to adaptation when it comes to climate change. Already the awards initiative has been highlighted. I think this is an important initiative for which UNESCO has a role to play, and we are proud in leading the green water work stream of AWARE. Also, Friend Nile was highlighted, and we are really also pleased to revamp this Friend Nile. As you know, we organized here in Paris a workshop in that regard, and we are very pleased now to continue working in that direction to develop a comprehensive Friend Nile program, bringing together all the countries of the basin so that they can work together in a peaceful way, managing the water resources of the basin. Also, as you know, we have a UNESCO Water Center in Cairo, playing a very important role as a hub for research, training, and regional cooperation when it comes to water and climate change. So all those efforts are, for us, very important, are in line with the IHP spirit, bridging science, policy, and practice to achieve shared water security. So as we mark this very important moment of celebration, we need to keep in mind not only to look at the past, but we need to look at the future. And by doing that, I want to highlight the important role this gathering will play for the upcoming two important moments. The first moment is the United Nations Conference on Water in 2026, which will be in United Arab Emirates and co-hosted by Senegal. As you know, this very important conference has 6 interactive dialogue. And among those 6 interactive dialogue, I want to inform you that UNESCO will co-lead and provide technical support to the interactive dialogue on water for cooperation. And also, we will contribute to all the other 5 remaining interactive dialogues. The other important event is the 11th World Water Forum in Riyadh. And in that regard also, as you know, IHP has been at the forefront of providing support for all the previous series of World Water Forum, and we will continue doing so, working hand in hand and supporting Saudi Arabia in the organization of the 11th World Water Forum. For all those events, I believe the gathering today should reflect on the challenges the region is facing and to bring the voices of the region, including the voice of youth, women, for those big events so that those voices can be considered within the discussions and deliberations. Also, I want to reassure you on the commitment of IHP in continuing providing support to the member states of UNESCO and particularly your region. We are doing it through the 9th phase of IHP. As you know, we are implementing the 9th phase of IHP, which is dedicated to science for water secure water in a changing environment. And we are doing it in leveraging all the UNESCO Water family, as already indicated by Nuria within her presentation. So we are confident in providing the appropriate support. Let's build on Egypt's example to ensure that water remains a bridge of cooperation, not a source of conflict, a driver of resilience, not of vulnerability. I want once again to express my sincere appreciation to the government of Egypt and personally His Excellency Hani Sulam, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation of Egypt. And also, I want also to recognize the presence also of 4 former IHP chairpersons sitting within the panel. I'm really very pleased to see you, and my greeting to all of you, and also to all those who are attending this celebration, because for us, this is a very, very important moment. It's not only a moment of celebration of the past, but we need to look forward. And as you know, we organize a very high-level event here in Paris, and we are really pleased to have the minister participating to this very important meeting. And these discussions were forward-looking discussions. The challenges the world is facing on water are becoming unprecedented. They are complex, they are interrelated. We need more than ever science. We need more than ever IHP as scientific program and capacity development program. Because without science, it will be difficult to bridge the gap in supporting government addressing those complex challenges. We need evidence to support government addressing those challenges. We need also capacity. Capacity is critical because we realize that in many developing countries, there is a diminishing workforces related to water sector. This is really a very, very pressing issue, which really we should reflect moving forward in addressing this. So in concluding, I want to once again to convey my gratitude to all the partners, to our colleagues who have been at the forefront of organizing this event. Of course, we have Bisha Iman and Abdulaziz under the leadership of Nuria. And this for me is an opportunity really to recognize their tremendous support in making water visible and being part of the solution of water issues within the region. So together, let's continue to transform knowledge into action, science into policy, and cooperation into peace. So I thank you.
Thank you very much, Abu. Of course, we all will be looking for support from our colleagues at headquarters. But now, at the moment, in the interest of time, because we have spent so much of that time, I would like to invite Professor Anders Sholashinaji to give us a tour of IHP history and of his contribution and the contribution of others into the program. Anders?
All right. Oops. شكرا جزيلا بش سيداتي وسيدتي ألف مبروك لمصر ولليونسكو for the election of the new Director General, His Excellency Dr. Khalid El-Enani. مبروك كتير. Madam Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. What I'm trying to run over through in the time allotted is just a brief history, but Nuria has covered a great deal of that, so I will be really fast. And the new challenges that IHP probably is facing for the coming, well, if not the 50 years, but at least 20 years. Perhaps a small modification needs to be made here. The 50 is 60. Because the whole program started way back in 64, 65, with the International Hydrological Decade. That was a spin-off of the International Geophysical Year. That was the first international science cooperative project after the Second World War in 57. And then the idea came up that humanity knows very little about the water, how much water is, how much the global water resources are distributed. First of all, how much we have, and certain continents are facing problems or not. So that decade, which started not far away from here in Athens, by three people that I have to mention who were pivotal, who had a pivotal role in that. Leon Tisson, who at this time was the president of the International Association of Hydrological Sciences, a Belgian, Ray Neff of the United States Geological Survey, and Michel Baptiste of UNESCO, who at the time was here in Cairo. And he was the one who was running the first arid zone project of UNESCO. And these three people had a couple of, I guess, Coca-Colas, and then they came to the conclusion that they need to do something about the water resources, how much we have. And that gave rise to IHD. Later on, 10 years after, UNESCO produced the first map of the water resources of the world. Governments came to the conclusion that this is all right, this is a good beginning, but it's not enough. We have to continue. And this is how IHD was turned into IHP, a full-fledged intergovernmental program, in fact, the only one in the UN system that is devoted to water sciences and to water education. Now, we have a very unique occasion today. We have 4 former chairpersons of the Intergovernmental Council of IHP present. From the Arab states, we have Professor Abu Zaid over there, and then Professor Fadi Khomer. Then we have my brother Abdin Saleh, who was my colleague at UNESCO for, I don't dare to say it, for 15 to 20 years. And then Professor Ben Braga from Brazil, Latin America. So these were the key people, the best scientists in the world we could collect. I have to mention 2 people who were instrumental in launching IHP, Michel Baptiste, whom I mentioned before, and Sorin Dumitrescu, a Romanian scientist who was my predecessor. He served exactly the same time as I did, 20 years. And he was the one who from early on shaped what the program ought to deal about. So what I mentioned is that indeed UNESCO is the first and so far the only science program that is full-fledged intergovernmental, trying to combine governmental needs and knowledge with what the scientific community could offer. The program evolved through various phases. The first one were 3 to 4 years, but the important thing is that the program is designed collectively by the Intergovernmental Council, and then we went over to 6-year periods, and now with IHP 9, even a longer one. But the central tenet did not change, which is the following. Humans are changing the global water system in a globally significant way, without knowing how the system is functioning, because we haven't had the data, we haven't had the knowledge. And that's where IHP was instrumental, particularly to ask a question from the very beginning. Is it true that the hydrological cycle is accelerating? If it does, what could the consequences be? But first we need to start with the data, collecting the data, and analysis of the data may lead to new scientific discovery. So therefore, in that regard, the data gathering programs, such as FRIEND, which sounds great, politicians loved it, but FRIEND basically is a very dry concept. Flow regimes from international and experimental network data. Now, if you give it to politicians like this, you don't get any support. But if you say that you have a FRIEND program, money is coming, which was luckily the case. The same with an initiative of this particular region that dealt with dry regions. Wadi. Well, everybody knows what Wadi is and how important Wadis are in this particular region. And I have to acknowledge Abdin's role, together with the Imperial College London, to launch this initiative. But then a gradual change happened in the program. This is the GWADI program. And then gradually the program moved towards more interdisciplinarity. Instead of a stricto sensu mathematical, physical, geophysical program, more and more social issues were incorporated, recognizing that at the end of the day, water is not just a scientific program, but it is a social program. If it is a social problem, then it's a political problem. So this is basically, these are the key words that represents the evolution of the program. In the meantime, things started to change. A hydrologist recognized by analyzing time series that something happened around 1920, 1930. The system's dynamics has changed. It doesn't respond the same way. This was the delayed effect of the climate change, yielding major disasters, water-related disasters, more floods and more droughts. Yet, the amount of water over the globe did not change. It's the same thing as it was at the beginning of the Holocene 20 years ago. So then the question came, is it true that the frequency of hydrological extremes is going up? We have more floods, but at the same time we have more droughts, aridity. What is the dynamics of this whole thing? Well, there are many examples. The Arizona examples you know better than anybody else. But even in Europe, which seemed to be a relatively calm place in terms of natural disasters, huge flood-related disasters occurred over the past 10 years. This is just one that happened in Germany. The response of IHP was to launch the International Flood Initiative, which was a collective effort from all over the place, from the United States to Australia, Latin America, all over the place where floods were becoming more and more often. And as a spin-off, and this is how the organic development of IHP happened, this led to the establishment of an international research center. Has a very charming name. It's called iCharm, but basically what it means, the International Center for Water Hazard and Risk Management. Upon the recommendation of the Japanese government, this is set up in Tsukuba, and they now have not only master programs, but also PhD programs in particular issues of flood disasters. They have given a great deal of effort and resources to set up the center. The major change happened with IHP in the year 2000, when the Director General, a Japanese diplomat, the Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs, Koichiro Matsuura, has been elected to serve as the Director General. He offered to the member states to select one so-called principal priority for each of the sectors. And for the science sector, he had this bold vision to recommend water as a principal priority. So in about 4 years' time, the budget, this is unheard of, the budget of IHP has been increased 50 times. So we were not swimming in money, but there were sufficient resources to launch major new initiatives, such as to deal with the sediment problems all over the world, the erosion problems and the sedimentation problems. Again, as a response to that, the Chinese government has set up an institute in Beijing, the International Research and Training Center on Erosion and Sedimentation. They built up a global database. So the evolution of IHP over the past 50 years was basically a very simple rule: continuity with change. Whenever there are small or rather big changes occurring, then the program had to respond. This is a little bit complicated. Well, you don't have to even look at it. A complicated slide which shows how the program has been set up. Many programs that are related to that have been launched, not only the flood initiative, but also the sediment initiative, the joint isotope hydrology initiative with the International Atomic Energy Agency, a program on the hydrogeological mapping, the mapping of hydrological processes. So many new institutions, IHP institutions, has been set up, sort of Category 2 centers, which are legally not part of UNESCO, but their principal mandate, and the only mandate, is to contribute to the implementation of UNESCO's plans and to complement to achieving the goals of the program. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the organigram, but it became quite complicated. We had the IHP national committees, the 180 national committees, which are governmental bodies, a combination of the scientific community and the governments, all the ministries that deal with water, then the Category 2 centers, and the UNESCO chairs that are located to various universities. I'm serving in that capacity, dealing with water conflict management. I will come back to that. In 2000, UNESCO was able to raise, thanks to Matsuura and the Japanese government, resources to launch a new program. Let me just take you back a few years. In 1992, the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED, was held in Rio de Janeiro, that came up with Agenda 21 and the very important recommendations. 5 years later, when the review of the implementation of the UNCED resolutions happened, it became clear that the water agenda is lagging back. Therefore, the UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution whereby it invited the governments and the UN system to come up with a regular and comprehensive assessment of the world water situation and report it back to government and to the larger public. Well, of course, it's in its infinite wisdom, the UN General Assembly didn't assign a single dime, so nothing happened for 5 years until Matsuura became again the Director General of UNESCO, where we had very significant funds. And we were able, UNESCO was able to initiate this World Water Assessment Program as a joint effort of all the United Nations agencies. It's the first one, basically, in the history of the UN. So that program is, ever since, is working very well, and every second year, or now every year, produces the World Water Development Report that gives a comprehensive overview for the political community and also for the larger public. Then it became clear, well, we heard it from His Excellency the Minister, that water may become a source of conflict. So how can we deal with that? This is when IHP launched a program, the so-called PCCP, which is a program to change a potential conflict to cooperation potential. So water should not be, as a common good, should not be a source of conflict, but rather we should work towards making it a source of cooperation. At the same time, we had education programs. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, UNESCO had 32 postgraduate courses ranging from 3 weeks up to 6 months. But then with the political changes in Central Europe, it changed a little bit. Luckily, we had the offer of the Dutch government to change the International Institute for Hydraulics, IHE, into a UNESCO facility. So it became a Category 1 institute. Now it's a Category 2 center, but it still works very closely with UNESCO. So gradually we had quite a big network. Let me summarize the past. As a unique water science program, IHP has done a remarkable job, and that is basically due to the work of the national committees and the scientific community, the scientific NGOs. We have basically covered the whole hydrological cycle. So the question is, what next? What are the issues that are expected to come up in the coming 22 to, well, I dare to say, up to the end of the century? when water is going to be the big issue. With the population growth, 100 years from now, we will reach the limits. If we go beyond, then we will have a big problem. Things will change dramatically. So what next? Well, forecasting is a difficult thing, following Niels Bohr, particularly if it concerns the future. So it certainly has a great deal of uncertainty, but the water issues are now very clear. Going back to the principal question, is it true that the system is changing? And the answer is coming out, yes. The hydrological cycle is accelerating. So we have now the scientific proof and the understanding what really happens down there. Will it lead to growing vulnerability? No doubt, it will. Will there be more disasters? No doubt, there will be more disasters. Both ends of the spectrum, whether you talk about floods or you talk about droughts. Less water for people? Yes. 15 years ago, the per capita water availability was about 14,000 cubic meters per person per year. Today, it's down to 5,000. Now, of course, you cannot make an extrapolation coming to the conclusion that, yet another 15 years and we are running out of water. But it sends us a warning signal that has to be, first of all, has to be transmitted by us to the political community. Our communication tools need to be improved a great deal. Some 10 years ago, we were still asking the question, is there a global water crisis looming? Now we have that affirmative. There is a global water crisis. What crisis is that? Is it a crisis of the resource? In a way, yes. Or it's rather the crisis of how we govern the resource. What are the institutions? What are the social responses? That is where the program needs to move probably in the coming years. Going back to the question, well, the frequency of the extremes is increasing because we are at the end of the Holocene period. Some people call it the Anthropocene. The humans are changing the hydrological system in a very significant way. And now, this is a message we were not able to send over to the political community. Climate change is all about water. Climate change is all about water. 80% of the climate change impacts is manifested through, with, and by water. So, in order to cope with the undesired impacts and effects of climate change, it is water that is a means that offers a means for adaptation to humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I did not paint it a too gloomy picture. In spite of all the signs, there are still some people who believe that, no, I don't believe in climate change, when the water is up to their nose. So even the politicians, one country jumps out second time from the global climate agreement, the Paris Agreement, which I think is a crime against humanity. But that's my personal view. The bad news is that age-long hypothesis that the system, our hydrological system is stationary, is not true anymore. Stationarity is dead. Things are changing dramatically. We need new tools, from machine learning to AI. If the picture is too bad, let me just say last a couple of positive news. There is hope, and the hope is provided by the progress in science and technology. When we were doing our doctoral dissertation, I don't dare to say 60 years ago, then we had very simple models, the Sacramento model, Stanford model, and things like that. And now we have extremely refined 3D models, from the analog models all the way down to computational hydraulics, and then simulating three-dimensional flows and interaction between a sediment and water body. We have an incredible progress in measuring technologies. We have 24 satellites that are providing hydrologically relevant data. Every single day, we have a terabyte data that are hydrologically relevant coming to the Earth. Now, 1 terabyte is 1, followed by 18 0. That's a huge number. So the question was, what do we do with that much of data? Well, that's when AI comes in. That's when machine learning comes in. We have now the technologies that process those very, very quickly. So we are facing a water crisis. Water is a key in achieving the ADGs and science, the SDGs, and science is more needed than any time before. I used to tell my students that, asking what is the central element of the SDG 17 goals, and if they don't say water is the central theme, then that's their bad day. Because if you consider that if you take out water from the system, then the system is collapsing. So our goal now, and this is a very important communication tool, is how to put water into the minds of people. Thank you for your attention.
Wow, what a tour de force in the history of IHP. And to continue the tour, I would like to invite our brother, Professor Abdin Saleh, to tell us about IHP, how is it launched in the Arab region, and what kind of networking and other issues that he has established and launched here in the Arab region. Professor Saleh, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Wish. Good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues, IHP Water family. It is a great pleasure to be with you here, and we are really in a celebrating mood. And I was worried when they asked me to speak after Andras. I was worried, but in any case, he said everything, so maybe I better go and sit and leave it, because it is 50 years also since I knew Andras. We were 50 years really. This is our 50-year anniversary. We taught together in one international course in Yugoslavia for many years. Then UNESCO put us together. But I take this opportunity first to congratulate Egypt and the Arab region and UNESCO with the election of Dr. Khalid Al-Anani as the Director General of UNESCO. And he's the first Arab person to be a director for UNESCO, which is really a great thing to celebrate also, as we are celebrating the 50 years of UNESCO. Also, we celebrate 50 years of IHP. And also, since the celebration, I thought since Anders is speaking behind me, and he's preparing transparencies and presentation, I thought I shouldn't do that because he will say everything. But I looked at a book which we wrote 10 years ago, because we celebrated also 50 years of water in UNESCO 10 years ago, where we added the decade which from 1965 as the beginning of water in UNESCO, which was wrong also. We were wrong really, because water started earlier than that, but 65 was the decade. And when you add the decade 65, we celebrated in 2015. And then we wrote a nice book. I think it includes everything. Whoever wants to know the history of this should look to it. And it happens that Anders wrote on it, Dr. Abu Zaid wrote of it, but I wrote of it 2 chapters. And I think I told the story of water in UNESCO. And I think water appeared in UNESCO 2 years after the establishment of UNESCO. UNESCO was established in 1946. But in fact, even when they thought of UNESCO first after the war, they thought that it is a noble organization, UNESCO really. It comes because they think that war is established on the head and brain of people. They want to establish peace in the people. UNESCO is a peace organization. So they think that they reach peace through education and culture. But few wiser persons, they said science should come with it. And then instead of UNESCO, it became UNESCO when it was declared in 1964 as UNESCO, not UNESCO. Science became there because science was not available in this. Within science, in 1948, it started a very important work, and that is the work about water in Arizona. And the Arizona program was a fantastic program, and I still believe that was the greatest entry into water by UNESCO in 1948. And I think at that time, people like Professor Safwat Abzaya and Dr. Mahmoud, and maybe Andarash, I'm not sure, but I'm there. I think when they did that, we were a little bit young. And then they did those great conferences in different places about arid zones. And they found that within the arid zone, hydrology is the key things to be learned. And I don't want to read to you what I have in here. I know it is boring in a celebrating way, but I registered in here with dates and with books and with references what those people thought that hydrology is important and thought that there is a need for a decade. I mean, I think I wanted to read this for you, but I will not read it really because all of you are tired and things. But this is documented that it is in 1948 they reached this idea, but only in 1956 they established the arid zone project, which was a great project. A lot of knowledge base came about arid zone and about aridity. And the water, as Andarash said, in water is everywhere. In fact, in Sustainable Development, the 17, water is connected with every one of them. So even at that time, they thought that they have to establish something in hydrology. And so the decade was born from the arid zone project. And I still think that arid zone needs a lot of work from us. And I hope that the young people in here and those here, they should know that we did not reach the full improvement. We had in the Arab Water Academy, which part of the Arab Water Council, a fantastic program on capacity development. And we make webinars. And we brought some great heads like Howard Wheater. Howard Wheater is one of the persons who worked a lot in the hydrology of arid zone. And then in conclusion, if some of you followed his presentation a couple of months ago, he said a lot is needed to be done. We don't know a lot about hydrology. We talk, we model, we bring AI, we have remote sensing developing, all this help. But we need work for knowledge production in arid zone today, like in 1948 and 1956 when they established the arid project and they closed it to establish the IHE. The IHE did a lot of work, but allow me to read to you some of the things which was written by one of the great persons mentioned by Andarash, and that is Patis. Patis said about the IHD, with the decade activities continuing to increase all fronts, there was an impressive proliferation of meetings, consultation, mission, courses, seminars, and publications, all extremely technical, and that's making any detailed account of them impossible. The work of the national committees multiplied the number of IHD stations, experimental and representative basing, water balances, integration, and so forth. He summarized. In spite of that, he said the need is great. That is why they established the IHP. The IHP was born from the IHED, which was born from the arid zone project. And the IHP started as a scientific hydrological program. And they said that WMO will do the field or the practical hydraulical part. They go parallel together. But I think IHP changed so many times, as Andarash said, its faces towards water management. And I think it is Andarash who brought a lot of those problems to us, because when he came as a director, then he thought we should go through many things, the things which he mentioned in his talk. Maybe for the remaining time where I speak, I will speak about what IHP did to us in this region. And there are something which are done, which are not registered by UNESCO. And I remember in the 70s, I wrote to the International Association for Hydraulic Research, and I told them, what do you have with us in Africa and the Arab region? You have a Latin America division. You have an Asian division. You have, why not Africa and the Arab region? And the secretariat was in the Netherlands. And then they sent me a man called Stephen Brooks from Yugoslavia. At that time, he was a UNESCO consultant in Uganda, and he dropped in Khartoum, and this person who is right to us, and he asked me, you know, we have nothing against Africa or against the Arab region, but you don't have enough people to be members of the IHR. I told him, then help us to have members in the IHR. Anyway, this great guy helped us, and with his link with UNESCO, we made about a couple of conferences in the 70s. One of these 76, which was with the birth of the IHP. We did conferences in Nairobi, in Ilorin in Nigeria, in Khartoum in Sudan, and then it took us so many years to the. In fact, in 1989, something very nice happened, and that was the appointment of Andar Salih Jinaji as the secretary of the IHP. And then we thought this is an opportunity also to benefit more from UNESCO. And at that time, they have a lecturer, an IHP, IAHR lecturer. And he said, and asked one of them in Sudan, Hotchkiss, and he came to us in Sudan, and we started sediment transport. And I think that was the start of the initiative at IHP of sediment transport. Secondly, also the help of establishing an IHR division in the Arab world. At that time, also, I met in 78 a great man. I think he's sitting behind, and his name is Dr. Mahmoud Abu Zaid. I met him in a conference in Mexico in 78. And then from that time, he helped us, and he introduced to me a great man called Muhammad Mahmoud Yasir. And Dr. Yasir at that time was the director of HRI, the Hydraulic Research Institute of the National Water Research Center. And that great Dr. Yasir was so great, and he has quite good relation with the Dutch. And then we worked also with the Dutch in 1992, and I saw a picture of us in the session produced by HR early this morning, and they showed our picture. With a third man, with Yasir, and with the third man, Rashid Sabit, a Dutch person, but he is with an original Egyptian origin. We visited all the African and Nile countries, and then we came with a proposal which was funded by the Dutch in 1992 or our mission was 92, and they established the training center in the HRI in Cairo, which is existing till now, and they train so many people. And in fact, now they are talking with IHE to make it 3 months. And UNESCO was there behind. It wasn't clearly watched as something which is done by UNESCO. I think the time is long, but I want to talk about the other very important contribution from UNESCO. When 1993, this guy, Andarash, asked me, by the way, we call each other since 50 years brothers. Even UNESCO, when we write, we don't write we write brothers, and people are surprised how different colors like this, and they claim they are brothers. But in any way, with Andarash, we worked a lot of work when I came here as a regional hydrologist. And then there is Professor Dr. Mahmoud Abu Zaid in here. And then we thought, in addition to the work which we did with HRI, and you have the National Water Research Center, which is celebrating now its 50 years, and I take this opportunity to congratulate them for the great work they have done, the National Water Research Center. And then we established 2 networks, the Groundwater Protector Network and the Wadi Hydrology Network. And those networks, really, we gathered all people from all Arab countries. I have a director in our office. He said, how could you bring people who are different? I told him, no, those are professionals and academicians. And the groundwater network was led by a great lady, Dr. Fatma Atiyah, alayha rahmatullah. This lady, she did a fantastic work at the level of the Arab region in this network. And I think, I hope it is documented, this work, somewhere in the library of the. We looked to groundwater, which deep groundwater, non-renewable, renewable groundwater, coastal groundwater, which is affected by the thing, and the Wadi Hydrology Network, which we saw that also wadis represent a very important thing to us to manage them well and to control them well. And we gave the leadership to ACSAD, under Jan Khouri, which also they did a fantastic work at that time. Not only that, the IHP Committee of the Arab world became very strong, that the 22 countries, they go to the General Conference. And Andarash knows, we bring with us those from Latin America, we work together, and then we influence the decisions, the global decisions of the IHP. And that is why we've benefited, of course. And as Andarash said, even during Mayor, water was given a priority. But Mayor, like a king, our director general, whenever he give money, then they deduct it from the program, except the water program. I think, but Masura, when he came, yes, he gave us really a lot of money, which we benefited a lot from it during those networks. Also, we established another network, which is the FRIEND project, which was mentioned by His Excellency the Minister and commented on it by the IHP Director Abu. The FRIEND program, we started it in 1967 in a meeting in Tanzania. And it was a successful meeting, in fact. Our office in Cairo, in charge in 2 countries, and Nairobi office from the remaining 9 countries. But our office took the lead. And we managed to get a little bit of money from the Assistant Director General, Dr. Badran, who is a Jordanian, and it helped us a lot. But we managed to get extra budget from the Flemish, and it was a flourishing work, I think, for the region here, the Friend Nile. And thanks to the Institute of Water Resources of the National Water Research Center. And I remember here also the late Professor Samir Farid, and I think he was there and was assisted by Dr. Abdelaziz Zaki. And Abdelaziz with Samir, they did a fantastic job. That is why I stole Abdelaziz from the center and I brought him to UNESCO, which is really helping a lot. And I think that if I want to talk about UNESCO's presence in our region and what we are expecting from them to provide to us is a lot. And I think in arid zones and our part is still a lot we don't know about basic things in the scientific thing. We can use the current tools, remote sensing, development in AI, and so on and so on, but we need a lot of work to the basic things. And we can, our ancestors, they lived with water scarcity. We have to learn how to live with water scarcity. And I think this is the message which I would like to say and to put to those who are in here. A lot, I think, could be said about the program, about the people, but I think I should mention few people who lived a lot while we are doing this work in here. And I put Dr. Mahmoud Abu Zaid, whom I met in '78, and since that time, the National Water Research Center became part of and if I'm part of it really, and not for myself, but for the region, and also for Sudan, for my country, and for the University of Khartoum, Professor Jamal in here, I made an agreement with him without consulting his minister and without consulting my university president. I was the deputy. And a lot of benefit happened to our staff up there. They come here to the center. So I think there are a lot of Dr. Abu Zaid, Dr. Abdel Hadi Radi at that time, Dr. Jasir in the center, but all his those who came behind him, they were great. Baha, Dr. Baha, Dr. Jawish, all of them, up to Dr. Sami now. I mean, I go to their, nowadays I think maybe they have training going on, or maybe a couple of months ago. And I think this is a great work, and I think Dr. Farid and his institute, the groundwater, what Dr. Fatma founded and put is so great, and it was followed by some, and I'm glad that Dr. Walid Zubari, who is sitting in there, he followed the same line. And I hope we made a mistake when I went to Paris, that we made the groundwater protection network and the Wadi Hydro network to be part of G-Wadi, which was mentioned by Andras. I wish if we have left it really alone, because we developed in having pilot scheme and looking for our, because the problems are great. It is really global problem, but in our region, it is a problem for almost all the region. I don't want to take more of your time. I think I spoke a lot, and to give the chance for my colleague, because I know Dr. Fadi, also I'm glad I spoke before him, and I left him IHP 9, which is grow under his time. So thank you very much for listening, and I congratulate again UNESCO, and I congratulate IHP, and congratulate myself with the 50 years of IHP, and the 60 years of IHD, and of the 8 years of the arid zone projects in UNESCO. Thank you very much.
Dr. Abdin. Thank you very much, Professor Abdin. A few years ago, we went through COVID, and at the same time, I just want to say that the work of the IHP Council did not stop there. And part of it is owed to two distinguished colleagues, and of course, you've met one of them, which is my colleague Abu Amani in Paris. And now I would like to invite Professor Fadi Kumer, who was the chair of the IHP Council and the Bureau during the COVID time, which happened to also be the time when IHP 9 was designed. So, Professor Kumer, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bisher. Allow me first to thank Dr. Sanz for organizing this high-level panel among passionate people of water. We are all passionate of water, under the leadership of Minister Hani Swalem. It was really a very inspiring speech, and you have mapped also all the initiatives that we are actually studying in details in the Cairo office, of course, under also the leadership of our first hydrologist and also Dr. Zaki, and also under the leadership of Abu Amani in Paris. So thank you so much. If we are passionate of water, we share one major concern, which is scarcity, water scarcity. This is what Dr. Abdin has highlighted. And if we look to this graph of the World Bank, we realize that in 2030, all the ME countries will be under water scarcity. This is the red line that we see, so less than 500 meter cube per year per capita. And this makes us thought a lot and think a lot about the future generation and how scientists are going to overcome this challenge. If we look to the water scarcity, it affects also the growth, the development of the countries. And we can see the Middle Eastern country, how the climate change on water, the effect of climate change on water could affect also and degrade this development for the country. It's clear that the Middle East is encountering a downgraded development because of water scarcity and climate change. Well, at IHP, under my chairmanship, I work globally for the whole world. But I would like today to concentrate a little bit about our region, which is highly complicated because of armed conflict, because of climate change, of course, and because of weak governance. And if we implement all the necessary technology, AI, all the driven technology in order to manage very well water, and if we have a weak governance, we end up by a great failure. And this is why governance is highly important in IHP, and I intended within the 5 priorities of IHP to write the priority which links governance to science. So under my mandate, we have launched IHP 9, which is a very important document in order to support all the water priorities areas in the world and all the initiative. And this document, which is called Science for a Water, Secure World in a Changing Environment. We didn't forget peace. We always talk about security, but in this document, we also talked about peace. And the 5 priorities are scientific research, innovation. Andreas spoke about that. Water education is the most important issue for the future generation, and bridging the data knowledge gap and inclusive water management under condition of global change. And the 5th priority is the one that I really wanted to give a lot of time for it, is water governance based on science by mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. When we have ratified this document, I thought about the extreme event that Andreas also covered. And we have also voted a resolution in order to launch the EcoMed Academy. The EcoMed Academy, which is the first academy under the UN system, which talks about extreme event due to climate change. And we were looking for a host institute. And since I was at the Cyprus Institute, and all the ingredients we have at the Cyprus Institute in order to host the academy, from laboratories, from really high supercomputers, all the center of excellence that we had. So we were able to establish the academy at the Cyprus Institute as a host institute and at the University of Balamand as co-host institute. Allow me here to make a special tribute to my dear friend Mulay Dries for helping us and really passing this resolution last June. We stayed 3 days negotiating with the leaders of water, especially in the Middle East, in order to pass this resolution. And really, Moulay, thank you for your help. Thank you for Morocco, the Kingdom of Morocco. You were one of the best representatives of the Arab world in this convention at UNESCO. So now that the Cyprus Institute is hosting this academy, I would like to highlight the presence of the president of Cyprus Institute, His Excellency Professor Malas, Professor Papanikolas, the graduate school at the Cyprus Institute, Dr. Chrysantia Leonsiou, and our major educational assistant, Dr. Sophocles, who are here, who are also really has their gratitude to UNESCO IHP. So at the ECOMED Academy, and this is the last slide, the ECOMED Academy, we will be providing capacity building. It's highly important to do capacity building, not for engineers or scientists as we are, but the capacity building are directly focused to the professionals, the community managers, the municipalities, how they have to behave in an extreme event situation. And then, based on that, we will develop a knowledge data platform in order to base our capacity building to this database and share information and share the best practices between the North and the South. I know if an extreme event happens in Paris, we know how to deal with it. But if it happens at Dieuppe's in Beirut or in Cairo, it's really difficult to deal with that. So the third point of the ECOMED Academy is partnership, collaboration between the research center. So we need to share and to collaborate together in order to base our science on innovation and research and to make strategic partnership. This is what we are looking ahead, and to base all this knowledge on public education for societal awareness rising in order to broaden our scope for the ECOMED Academy, dealing with professional education, training program at the Cyprus Institute, targeting all this category of managers of the community and managers also of the municipality. And then the last point I would like to highlight is to share monitoring. We cannot work only alone, each one alone. We need to share the monitoring of pollution, to launch within the ECOMED Academy the Observatory of Pollution in order to monitor what is really dangerous for us. And I would like to announce at a last word that the Union for the Mediterranean is now part of our network, the ECOMED Academy, and also we have the Science Board of the ECOMED Academy, which is composed of major prominent universities in Europe and also in the Middle East. And I would like to seize this occasion to call for the prominent personalities who are there to join the ECOMED Academy in order to launch it in 2026 after the General Assembly of UNESCO IHP. So this will be a hub of excellence to highlight the interconnection of climate change impact, the hub of excellence in order to secure our life and to go as a target for peace in our region. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Bisher, and congratulations for the 50th anniversary of IHP. Thank you, Dr. Sash.
Thank you very much, Professor. Is there a microphone, a handheld microphone, please? Handheld microphone. Do you have one, please? This is my colleague, Dr. Zaki, the one that Dr. Abdin was talking about. Well, I think now we are moving into a panel session. And of course, I would like to start with the colleagues who have not given a presentation because of the time, but I would like to start first with His Excellency, Dr. Professor Mahmoud Abu Zaid. Of course, you have been one of the major supporters of the UNESCO International Hydrological Program. First, as a director of the National Water Research Center here in Egypt, where you encouraged the young scientists to work on and with the IHP initiatives. Then, as the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, you also enhanced Egypt's presence in the IHP program, and now even as a partner of IHP program, jointly within the framework of the League of Arab States, we work together on many issues within the League of Arab States as a president of the Arab Water Council. Going forward, Excellency, we all know that very soon we will have a major event in the region. And it probably measures as you know, at a similar scale of things that we have been seeing. We've seen the COP27 here in Egypt. We are seeing the next year Water Summit in the UAE, but we also are seeing the World Water Forum, which is part of what is the World Water Council and the Arab Water Council are expected to do. For a few years in the past, we have lost the regional representation. And I understand that you have been behind a campaign to make sure that the regional presence, the regional dialogue in the World Water Forum is back for the Arab region. I would really appreciate if you can highlight that issue and tell us about where the progress is and how are we ready for Saudi Arabia 2027.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bish, Excellency Dr. Sands, and Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to join you this celebrating 50 years of the UNESCO Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, 5 decades of scientific advancement, cooperation, and collective commitment to a water-secure world. And on behalf of the Arab Water Council, I extend heartfelt congratulations to UNESCO, the IHP Secretariat, and all member states for this remarkable milestone. Since its creation in 1975, IHP has evolved from a hydrological research program into a truly transdisciplinary platform integrating science, education, policy, and culture. Its 9th phase, Science for a Water-Secure World in a Changing Environment, carries forward this legacy with a forward-looking vision that reconfirm this fact. Over the past half century, the IHP has guided nations to better understand hydrological processes, improve data systems, and enhance education and governance for water security. It has built a global community, the UNESCO water family of scientists, policymakers, and practitioners committed to ensuring that water science serves people and ecosystems alike. In the Arab world region, the cooperation has been instrumental in building national and regional capacity, improving drought and flood monitoring, and advancing the culture of evidence-based decision-making. The Arab Water Council takes pride in being part of this journey, bridging research with policy and translating science into action across one of the world's most water-stressed region, deeply with the challenge and aspiration of our region and the world at large. Bridging the persistent data knowledge gap and also essential, ensuring open, reliable, and accessible data to support informed governance among growing climate uncertainties. Furthermore, promoting integrated water resources management across surface and groundwater. The challenge before us, climate change, population growth, urbanization, and ecosystem degradation, demand not only new technologies, but new partnerships. The IHP has always shown that science and solidarity go hand in hand. Let us build upon this principle by strengthening cooperation between UNESCO, the Arab Water Council, regional organizations, and national institutions, linking global knowledge with local action. I would like to commemorate 50 years of IHP. We celebrate not only its advancement, achievements, but its enduring spirit and emerging future. The belief that science, when shared and applied, can unite humanity around our most vital resource. I would like also to take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to the entire UNESCO Regional Office and the IHP Secretariat, with special gratitude to Dr. Sands, Director of UNESCO Cairo, and Dr. Bish, of course, Chief of the National Science Unit, and other staff for organizing this important session celebrating 50 years of achievements under the IHP program. I am very glad to see many of my colleagues whom have been working for many, many years with UNESCO IHP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you very much. It means a lot to us, of course, with all the cooperation that we've done in all of your career stage. Professor Zubari, we'll come back. You've, of course, have also played major role in supporting IHP in the Arab region. Not only from your dedication to issues working, for example, on the groundwater governance documents, and but also as an academic, about opening opportunities, about things. So I'm always thinking, how can UNESCO Cairo office, as well as our other regional offices in Doha, in Beirut, in Rabat, and national offices in Ramallah and Amman, and also in Khartoum. How can these offices enhance cooperation with the academia in the Arab region? And how can we use that enhanced cooperation with academia to develop the type of programs that can feed into the ECOMED, that can feed into your own program that you have with UNU at the Arabian Gulf University, so that we can prepare the next generation? People who you and I have talked quite a few times, who's going to be taking our place, and it's getting closer and closer for these young people to start thinking about that. So please, floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I have prepared a lot of things, but you summarized the whole thing that I want to say very shortly. That's good. I just at the outset, I would like to reflect on my experience with the IHP. It has been really a learning and enriching a learning experience. It has really, and it continues to be that. It opened your eyes on the multidisciplinarity of the water problems, as Salashi has mentioned. My experience with the IHP started, I think, in 1997 when Abdeen Saleh established the Groundwater Protection Network. He actually called all the water scientists, PhDs holders, to formulate two networks. The first one is the groundwater protection network, and the other one is Wadi hydrology network. And I really thank him for really exposing us and start putting our legs on the path, and the right path. I have also had the honor to be one of the authors for one of the IHPs representing the Arab region. I feel like the IHP offers a lot of ideas and of priorities that really matches ours. It matches the region, although it's a global. But I mean, when you go deep on that, you can see that the synergies between what the IHP is offering and what we're offering. But what I see really, I mean, in last April we had a meeting for all the GCC IHP through the Doha office, and I was asked to give a presentation, and I took that opportunity to map IHP priority areas with GCC Unified Water Strategy in a matrix, and I found a huge overlap. It's just so much synergies between the two. I mean, we're talking about groundwater, management and governance and understanding. It's just exactly the same thing there. We talked about the wastewater reuse and the circular economy. It is there. So there is a lot of synergies, but I think there is a problem. And taking these and translating them at the level. And I think there are two issues here. I would start with the vertical one. So there is a problem with the vertical, coordination or vertical exchange between the IHP and the local and the national IHPs. This is clear. Many countries don't even have an IHPs committee. And there is also, some of them are having it, but it's not even active. And to me, the ideal case, and I hope we will reach that you have all this thing that has happened at the global level to be translated. So we should be acting as a translation hub for all these programs and then give a feedback. So this is probably is not happening. And I think the universities has to be activated, and many research centers has to be involved. This is at the level of the vertical level. At the horizontal level, I don't have any communication with the other IHPs. I mean, if I have an IHP in Bahrain, it doesn't deal with it doesn't interact with the other IHPs in the national committees at the national level. So Bahrain and Qatar and Saudi Arabia and all those things don't even communicate with each other. So horizontally, there is also a problem. There could be a mechanism with the cluster offices to make that, hopefully, or through the GCC Secretariat General or whatever it is. But I mean, you need this communication. There's a lot of synergies around, and we are not actually capitalizing on it. So vertically, we have to, activate and empower those IHP National Committee on NatComs, and the horizontal, we need to find a mechanism. And in the GCC, there is a mechanism that we can work together. Now, if I'm going to be, saying anything or giving any statement for the young, for our young, scholars or young researchers or young professionals that are working in the water sector and trying to contribute to the IHP or be part of this IHP, I think they have to do a number of things or change the mindset of research and these things. Number one, let's master the science. That's fine. But try to make that science, communicated to the decision makers. I mean, we do a lot of work in our university that's not reaching the decision makers. So we do research for the sake of research, it seems that. But we have to go to more applied. We have to go more toward the real problems and try to connect it to the IHP as well as communicate it to the decision makers. The other thing, after communicating to policymakers, I think now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. We are seeing something completely different than the standard or the traditional way of work. We have to fuse all this knowledge that we are having in science with the emerging technologies and cutting-edge AI. There is no, it's an imperative now. It's not an option that if you do. So our teaching system, our curriculums need to be really completely changed to take that into account. And that's going to be my talk tomorrow. Okay, so I'm not going to burn it now, but this is my talk. We have really to really prepare our young people to be ready for this fourth industrial revolution.
Thank you very much, Professor Zubair. Professor Idris Hasnawi. Thanks to Dr. Fadi, we know that Morocco is now representing the Arab region on the IHP Bureau. And I have been in the discussion of initiatives like the EcoMed and all of that. But to me, it sounds like, unlike the previous phases in IHP, there was a governance of the program as a whole, but now there is a slightly different governance structure for IHP 9 than what we have been used to in the past, in terms of, okay, there is an initiative here, there is an initiative. For the first time, we're seeing things like working group and all of that. Could you please put in the presentation, the last presentation for today? Dr. Hasnawi? Yes.
No, the other, the second one.
The second slide. Could you please go to the second slide, please?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bishar. First, I would like to thank the UNESCO office, Cairo, Sudan, for the invitation. And after the intervention of the eminent professor, what I have to say about UNESCO organization, it's about the governance is the major complex task in the management of water. And to talk about governance of an old program, IHP now is 50 years, then I want to congratulate the UNESCO IHP program for the 50th anniversary first. And I hope more continuity in the future. The IHP, when we look from the 8th phase to the 9th phase, in the 8th phase we are talking by water security. And in the 9th, we are talking by science for a water secure world in a changing environment. There is a big change between the even it is a continuity, but there is a big change. Why? In the 9th phase, UNESCO mobilizes science and knowledge to address global water challenges with an emphasis on transdisciplinary approaches to achieve the SDGs by 2030, mainly or in particular the SDG 6. Looking to SDGs to water, all the 17 SDGs are linked to water by one mean at least. It can be indirect, direct, or by cause and effect link, or by synergy, or by usefulness in management and or governance, or by only the presence of a challenge for life. Then any progress of SDGs means we need to progress in SDG 6. Otherwise, we cannot achieve the other SDGs, of course. And the main change between the phase, the previous phase and the last one is we are moving more and more for more participation, more integration, more multidisciplinary, more consideration of the environment, eco-hydrology, more adaptation, awareness raising, and transparency. this program, in my sense, represents an evolution of the institutional field, initially centered on hydrological science and then extending to an approach integrating science, support policies, and society. The IHP strategic plan is designed at a time when countries are sinking into water stress one after one. We have seen that in the intervention of Professor Fadi. And now, in the implementation, in the operational plan, it consists of an implementation of 5 priority areas, 34 products, and 150 key activities. UNESCO was set up 18 working groups to help mobilize the water family. 5 of them are from the thematic working groups: scientific education, gap between data and knowledge, integrated water management, and water governance. And 2 cross-sectional working groups, which are the hydrological systems, the eco-hydrology and water quality, and groundwater and human settlement. And the main important thing in the implementation of the HP9, there is 3 to 5 drivers. The first drive is the involvement of the United Nations system or organization. WMO is dealing with meteorological and hydrological monitoring system, WHO by sanitation, UNEP by CRIDA, IAEA by isotope hydrology, ASC Water Convention of Basin, FAO by irrigation, UNDP by SDGs, and so on. But also, there is also the international forum frameworks, NGOs, conferences and initiatives, World Water Forum, United Nations Framework on Climate Change, international NGOs like IHS, which is involved since the beginning, as said by Andreas. United Nations Water Conference, International Decade of Action for Water 2018-2028, and also the international financial institution. At their head, the World Bank, but also there is regional financial institution, national financial institutions, bilateral countries technical cooperation, and the international technical cooperation. I cannot enter in details, but all things are in my slide condensed. The second drive is the initiatives. UNESCO have 15 initiatives: FRIEND, Graphic, GWD, HELP, and MAR, and PCCP, IFI, etc. 15 initiatives that can help the implementation. Also, we have climate change initiatives like Pact on Water and Adaptation, strengthening adaptation in river basin, lakes and aquifer from the INBO, Action for Water Adaptation and Resilience, aware from Egypt, the African Agriculture Adaptation Initiative, AAA, aims to reduce the vulnerability of African agriculture to climate change, launched by Morocco. Climate is Water by World Water Council. The Great Green Wall in Africa, in Sahel, but also the Hassan II World Grand Prize for Water, the first among the first awarded. We are here present, Excellency, the President of the Arab Council, Professor Abu Zaid, and also we have recent African high-level action summit initiated by Morocco, by His Majesty Mohammed VI during COP22 in Marrakesh. about the Sahel Region Commission, the Congo Basin Region Commission, Blue Fund, and Iceland State Commission. All these initiatives can help the implementation of our IHP program. The third driver is information tools to implementation of the HP. At their head, the system WINS, the Water Information Network of UNESCO, which brings together UNESCO water-related program initiative and which are and will be making decisive contribution to the United Nations Water Family Data Platform through UNEP's Global Water Quality Monitoring System, WMO's Hydrology and Water Resource Program, WMO Hydrological Observing System, World Hydrological Cycle Observing System, World Hydrometry Support Facility, but also the WMO has 4 systems that can help in information and implementation. The WMO Hydrologic Observance System, WHOS, WACOS system, WAGOS, and WISE system. And also there is various centers under the auspice of different United Nations organizations as a number of global water resources data collection centers under the aegis of several United Nations organizations and programs, such as the World Precipitation Climatology Center, the Global Runoff Data Center, GRDC WMO, the International Data Center on Hydrology of Lakes and Reservoirs, the International Soil Moisture Network, Aquastat, the GEMS, the Global Cryosphere Watch, and the World Glacier Monitoring Service. Of course, all these bodies are federated within the Global Terrestrial Network Hydrology hosted by the International Center on Water Resources and Global Change, ICWRGC, a UNESCO Category 2 center. And also for the feasibility of implementation, UNESCO has made an inventory of 150 key activities. And to follow and to implement our program, we can check activity by activity and point each activity. And we need, each country need to see which activity is done or partially done, etc., in terms of number of indicators of involving person and so on. And the last one is for me to implement the HP. UNESCO or HP Secretariat was put 7 to 8 indicators to follow the implementation of our program. It's, of course, of most importance. And I want to say the HP program, Phase 9, is a real strategy for each of our countries. If we are lost, we need just to adopt this strategy, and we are in our national strategies. And thank you for your... Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. I had really hoped that we could do another round, but we don't have much time, and we have to close the session. I would like to invite Dr. Nouria Sanz for a closing session, but at the same time to honor some of those who contributed, made significant contribution to IHP in the Arab region. Professor Sanz and Madame Wala Shawki to read the citation.
Excellent. So my colleagues that are always thinking in any single detail suggested me just to prepare something, a little gift. This is a kind of a gift that we hope that is not taking a lot of kind of place in your suitcase to go back home, but just to mark in your desktop, in your place in which you continue implementing the program, like a landmark. A little landmark, like a a moment of thinking about all the contribution. So you need, we need to reward you, and you are very, very well deserved of this very little gift that my colleagues made with a lot of tenderness and love for your work. Thank you very much. So we will start. Okay, let us start.
So the first trophy will be presented to His Excellency Dr. Hannes Willem, Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation of Egypt, and representative of IHP committee. Wow. So next, the second trophy for Professor Anders Slushinaji. Professor Abdin Saleh. Professor Mahmoud Abu Zaid. دكتور حسين العاطفي. We are also proud to present trophies to our esteemed experts who are not with us today yet. We acknowledge their profound and lasting impact as it's part of our duty. It's for Professor Fatma Ataya, the family of Professor Fatma Ataya. Family of Professor Dalal Naggar. Professor Dr. Shaidan Abdelgawed. Professor Karima Atiyah. Professor Madiha Mustafa. Yes. Professor Fadi Qomer. Professor Fadi. Dr. Hasnawi Dris. Dr. Walid Zuberi. Dr. Tahani Slade. Last but not least, Dr. Bishri Imam. Yeah. Dr.
Abdulaziz.
Come.
Jana.
Viola, come here. Our colleague,
Ahmad.
Ahmed, please.
If you want to take a family picture with us, please join us on stage.